So now I'm really, really excited to bring on Trey Sherard with the Anacostia Riverkeepers. Hey, Trey.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I hear we're having a little technical problems on my side. I think the screen is freezing, but I think we'll get through this. You have a lot of stuff going on down there at the Anacostia River. Talk to us about the Riverkeeper project.
Happily. So thank you for getting me on the show. And I'm really, really happy to kick off some of y'all's environmental stuff now that we are in Earth Month. And in honor of Earth Month, we get really busy. We are talking about cleanups. We are doing trainings for how people can learn how to be volunteers to monitor water quality. We're also going to be doing a little fishing event as part of the one of two in-person events at the Anacostia River Festival this year, since that festival is mostly going virtual.
And the festival is on April the 11th, is that correct?
Right. So the virtual festival will be April 11th, and then on April 10th, we'll be fishing in the morning at Anacostia Park at the dock down there by the AREC, the skating pavilion, and the boat ramp. And then later that afternoon, AWS will be out there doing canoes.
I'm at Anacostia Park pretty frequently, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place to walk and run and picnic or just hang out with the family. I think it's great. But I often see folks fishing, and I wonder, and I'll stop sometimes and see what they caught. What's in the river?
There's a lot of catfish. Some of those catfish are blue cats, which are actually invasive here. They got brought in from the middle of the country, and they don't belong on the Atlantic, but they do really well here, especially because the river's been degraded and it's gotten really silted up and muddy. So the catfish are what a lot of people are fishing for. Right now, the shad are starting to run. That's America's fish. The American shad and some of the other river herring only come in the spring and in the fall. They do their breeding run. So if you see some really shiny fish moving upstream in the Anacostia or in Rock Creek or in the Potomac, that's probably what they are. Other people are out there fishing for striper, especially different times of the year. And then there's people fishing for little sunfish and panfish.
I think, Ray, a lot of people are sort of have the old idea of what the Anacostia River has been as opposed to what it's becoming. And so the question is, are those fish safe to eat?
So that depends on who you ask. Riverkeeper sticks to saying, please don't eat the fish yet. If you talk to DOEE, especially Director Wells, he's going to tell you that there's a certain amount of fish that anybody can eat safely of certain kinds of fish. And that's scientifically true. The district has a really, really strong document called the District Fish Consumption Advisory. And if people find it and they actually read it and they read all of it and then they follow its directions every time, that's great. And it's really protective of human health. But how many servings of what kind of fish and how big those servings are depend on who the person is. So is it a kid? Is it a woman of childbearing age? Is it a man or somebody else? That there's so many different sets of rules that most people look at it and then they just kind of make up their own rules, and that's no longer safe. So we suggest to please not eat fish out of the river yet, but if you're going to, make sure you consult that District Fish Consumption Advisory. And it's really easy to find. You can find it through DOEE's website. If you Google District Fish Consumption Advisory, it's going to be the first couple things that pop up. And it is a really sound document. But if you're not going to follow it to the letter every single time, then it can't help you out. And that danger is that it's not going to make you sick, like throwing up sick, right? That's not the problem with eating fish from the river. It's the potential for cancer 10, 20, 30 years down the line. And for women of childbearing age and for children who are still developing, and that means, teenagers right up into 20, because we're talking brain development, not when they think they're done developing. That means the risk of learning disability. And that can be lifelong learning and behavioral disability for those children born to mothers who have encountered that toxin at any point, not just during that pregnancy. And so there's some really hardcore health repercussions for contact with some of these toxins. And that's why we're just saying err on the side of safety. We want people to fish. That's actually why we do these fishing events. We want to teach people how to fish because it's a really phenomenal way to learn how to appreciate your river. It's a low hurdle way to come down, especially when we're holding the gear. And all you got to do is come sign up ahead of time and then join us. But we want to make sure that people know fishing is fun. We're getting towards where it's safe to eat the fish. But unless you're going to follow that consumption advisory and count how many ounces of what kind of fish you and your kids have been eating this month, that it's not enough to help you. So we really want to encourage catch and release.
Well,
people are ready for that.
You've greatly spelled it all out. And if people haven't heard it, you said it enough for them to understand that right now it's not safe to eat the fish. And we had some photographs actually, which we would have loved to have shared, I think, with you all out there. It may have been last year, the year before, actually teaching fishing to a lot of families. I thought that was fantastic. Yep. You know, it's a great family event, and I see families out there all the time. How did you become the Anacostia Riverkeeper?
So Anacostia Riverkeeper is part of an international now group called Waterkeeper Alliance. So Anacostia Riverkeeper as an organization has been on the river. Originally, they were hosted as a program at Earth Conservation Corps. We've been on the river for almost 20 years now. We've been our own organization for a little over 10. I came here from North Carolina. So I grew up on the coast in Wilmington, and I wanted to be a marine biologist because I wanted to know the names of all the things living on the dock and the beach. And I did that. And I decided that I didn't really want to do just pure science, because while science is awesome, it doesn't do a lot of change right now unless people use that science. And I'd been an educator doing a lot of informal environmental education and a little bit of classroom education. And I love the ripple effect of teaching kids good things and watching them go out and do more good things. But it turns out I'm not that patient a soul, and I wanted to see change happening where I could see it happening. And I decided DC was the place to come to get involved in that intersection of people and policy and science and environment, where they all cross over together. And when I came here, I was familiar with the Waterkeeper organizations. I saw that Anacostia Riverkeeper was hiring a part-time position. At that point, I was only the second person to come on staff besides the Riverkeeper himself. And I came on to start our trash cleanup program, which is still a big part of what we do. Our next cleanup is coming up April 17th in Anacostia Park. I've just moved up, adding different roles and different tasks that we do. And I've been the Riverkeeper informally for acting for about a year and a half. And I've formally been the Riverkeeper since last year.
Fantastic. Congratulations. You know, one of the things I just mentioned was about the fish, but in your role and working, you do a lot of work educating the community. I know you're at community meetings and talking to folks, particularly even on the east side of the river. But what is it? What are some of the things that you really wish people knew or had a better understanding of about the Anacostia River?
So first, that it's gorgeous. You know, if you haven't been down to it, hashtag come to the river. We want you down there. You know, there's a whole trail network now that wasn't there 7 years ago. There's access. There's still a lot of access problems. Let me be clear. You know, there's still a train tracks and a highway and a lot of things preventing people from having as free of access to the river as they should, especially people that have actually lived next to the river for as long as they have. But there is better access now than there has been in a long time. And so we just want to see you down there first. That's the point of fishing. That's the point of the free boat tours that are funded by the district with the bag fee money. Another thing that blows a lot of people's minds is that all the life that's there. You know, when you get on the boat tour and we get under the railroad bridge that's right there by the skating rink, people are blown away. You know, the rowers all call that side Narnia. They think of that as the wardrobe and the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and they call the other side Narnia. And it is amazing. It no longer feels like an urban river. And when you go a little bit further upstream, once you go under Benning Road Bridge, the Ethel Kennedy Bridge there, and you get into that area between Langston Golf Course, following the last gentleman, and Kenilworth Park, there's 1.5 miles of uninterrupted river where you can just look up river. And aside from the seawall and the boat and whatever trash is coming by right then, there's nothing man-made. You're in the middle of Ward 7 in Northeast DC, and you can look 1.5 miles and see nothing but nature. And I don't think a lot of people realize that asset is there. And I don't think a lot of people realize that asset is theirs and it belongs to them. And that they have a right to be using it. So
tell me about these boat rides.
So we just got cleared 2 weeks ago. You may have seen in the mayor's guidance about COVID that one of the things that's coming back are free boat tours of the Anacostia River. The Anacostia River Explorer Tours are funded by the District Department of Energy and Environment. Riverkeeper and AWS share that grant. We both give tours. Right now, I'm the only captain for us that's going to be giving tours while we get our folks vaccinated. Everybody's getting the vaccine. but we are up. I give my first official tour tomorrow afternoon.
Wow.
Weekends have already booked out. So if you were looking for a weekend, until we have more captains that are vaccinated and ready, it's going to be a month or two, probably two. But if you can come out on a weekday during the week, whether it's during work time or as a weekday evening, we've got light out till 8 o'clock. And frankly, the animals and the wildlife that a lot of people might not know are there, or they know are there and they want to go see it, they're most active at evening. You get the sunset on the water. It's an absolutely gorgeous time to be on the river, whether you've been on it before or whether this is going to be the first time you meet it. And the boat, something people ask a lot is, is it a little boat? Is it a big boat? It is a very big boat for the kind of tours we give. You can only bring up to 10 people right now. The boat fits 20, but while COVID, we're keeping things thinned out, and we have spots in the boat that we can keep groups that aren't quarantined together, mutually 6 feet apart and distance. Wonderful. With their masks on. But it's a big boat and it's very stable. The only way you're going to get off that boat is if you jump. I'm going to make sure you don't do that. So people that are concerned about going in the water, that's not a concern on this boat. And we can pick up a couple spots. If people want to use metro access or they're not worried about a car trying to park it, they can meet us down at Yards Marina, right there by Yards Park by Navy Yard. And it's only a 10-minute walk from the Navy Yard Metro. For folks that want to come out and meet us either by foot on the trail or if they want to drive and park, the dock at the Anacostia Park boat ramp, we have installed a floating dock there 2 years ago. So it's no longer the old fixed wooden pier. That was another grant we did with the district 2 years ago to put that floating dock in. And that makes it a lot more accessible to people that have mobility concerns. So now instead of having to wait for the tide to be just right, we have a ramp down to the floating dock, and that keeps it the same level as the boat at all tides. And so it's pretty easy for folks to come in and out.
So the challenge, this is fantastic. And I'm glad you're here to share this with us, particularly at this time of the year. But, one of the biggest challenges, you talked about it earlier, you said the trash. And maybe it's getting better, but there are times when it still looks like folks haven't gotten the memo to stop tossing things out of their cars that go into the sewers and then end up in the river, no matter where you are. But what's being done about that?
So it's gotten way less bad, right? Mm-hmm. It's not as often and it's not as much, but after a storm, there is still a raft of trash coming up and down the river. So a few years ago, DC Water, they had a christening for their 2 new trash boats, Flotsam and Jetsam. They did a phenomenal job of social media on that. And when those started working, the old trash boats had been out of work most of the time. And when they were, only one would work for a day or two. The new boats have been working, almost every day, and it made a visible difference. Then a few years ago, when the first leg of the DC Water tunnel came online, that's meant to keep sewage out of the river from the combined sewer system in DC, it also keeps the trash that was getting into that middle third of DC from getting into the river. So now we know that most of the trash in the Anacostia River is just like you said. People aren't lining up on bridges and docks and dropping trash into the river directly. And a lot of people don't realize that. All ages, we get out on the river and we talk about this. People don't realize where the trash comes from. And it's every single piece of trash you see on the ground that doesn't get picked up before it rains.
Wow.
Every single one. The next time it rains, it goes into that storm drain. If it's a little rain, it piles up in the storm drain. And then if it's a big rain, everything from the top of the hill to the storm drain gets flushed out into the river all at once. A lot of our streams, especially east of the river, where those streams are not covered up like they are west of the river, a lot of our streams that run through the parks, Pope Branch, Nash Run, those streams are simultaneously storm sewers because all of those storm drains you see over there, they go right into those streams. And it's not like there's something catching trash, keeping it out.
Wow. Well, we have to do a better job of getting the message out about how we keep our community clean and particularly keep our river clean. And I think more people get a chance to get out there with you all and take that ride, the more they'll understand why it's important to keep the river clean. So I want to thank you, Trey, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Before we go, I want you to talk about cleaning. I want you to just give a little bit more information about the cleanup that you're going to do, that you have planned, the Anacostia cleanup.
Yeah, so our next cleanup
and how people can volunteer.
Our next cleanup is going to be April 17th, 9 a.m. to noon at the intersection of Good Hope Road and Anacostia Drive. So right there, just south of the 11th Street bridges. That's where we'll meet, and then we're going to send people up Park and down Park, and we want to cover as much of Anacostia Park as possible. So if y'all want to sign up for that, you can go via our website, which was on the screen, and it's AnacostiaRiverkeeper.org. You can also go through Eventbrite, and if you just search Anacostia Riverkeeper, that'll pop up as one of our events.
Wonderful. And that new Frederick Douglass Bridge with those arches in the evening when the sun is setting is a really beautiful view over the river. So a lot coming over to Anacostia River.
Yeah, we can't wait to have you all out on the boat. And there's some other things. If you can't join us for the cleanup, feel free to take pictures of trash when you see it on the river and to post that and to let the district know, the mayor's office, everybody. Tag them, especially when you're seeing things like our plastic bottles. The mayor has said that she needs to hear from constituents, not just from organizations, that those bottles and other pieces of trash that are plastic are a problem for you in your everyday lives. And the more she hears about it, the more we get the political cover we need to get grants and to push and knock on doors. So there's a lot of ways y'all can help. If you can't join the cleanup, it can be as simple as posting a picture.
Wonderful. Will do. All right. Thank you so much, Trey. All right. Have a good one.